Pranko-Mendez, very famous rabbi of his time, especially during the 18th century, a rabbi I believe we've spoken about on various occasions here inside this series as we progress and cover more ground on the history of the great or famous Sephardic Rabbanim. He was born, I believe, on the 13th of August in the year 1713. He passed away on the 10th of October in the year 1792. Now, I'm not too sure exactly when the Hebrew date of that was, when would have been his Hilula, but he was a famous rabbi of his time. He was, I think, also known as David Hofshi. That was his name. He was a Dutch, Jewish, Hebrew language poet, and you could say he was one of the, maybe if you want to categorize the Haskalah movement as a movement in of itself, was one of the, let's just say, an earlier member, you could say, in that sphere in the Netherlands, respectively. Okay, he was a businessman also, and he would devote his, let's just say, his extra hours to the study of Talmud, and he became very proficient in it, it's reported over. He knew several languages and was apparently very well versed in Hebrew. I believe for the 6 months preceding his passing, he was honorary secretary of the Spanish-Portuguese community in Amsterdam. And we've spoken about, we did a special feature of the history of the Spanish-Portuguese from the Netherlands. I'd recommend everyone to look over the channel. I think we recorded about just around 2 months ago or something like that, where we looked in depth based on another interesting, important, informative article we found on the internet. He was regarded even by the caliber by some of the rabbis of the Ramchal. At that point in time, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto was a very famous rabbi in his time. Rabbi Luzzatto was born between the years 1707 to 1746, so their lives definitely did, let's say, cross over at that point in time. They were very, very much, let's just say, alive at the same period of time. Also, there was another Ashkenazic rabbi, someone named Naphtali Hertz Wesley. He was also a Hebraist and educationalist. He was, actually, I don't think we mentioned him that much before. I think he was a rabbi in Amsterdam, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was actually from Ashkenazic descent, if I'm not mistaken. I think he spent a time period in Denmark, in Copenhagen. He was in Amsterdam, remember, and I think he was actually associated with Moses Mendelssohn. We're talking about Naphtali Hertz Wesley. I'm not too sure if Rabbi David Mendes was associated with Moses Mendelssohn. I'd say on the outset, Moses Mendelssohn is, he was really, let's say, seen as a forefather of the Haskalah movement, and, much, especially in the Ashkenazic world, many people might have steered off the Jewish, let's say, path, people that were, let's say, Talmudim of Moses Mendelssohn, but that was, I'm not too sure the whole insides and outsides, that I'll just say that on the outset. Okay, so he was also a Hebrew poet at that point in time, and there's someone named Delitzsch, I think he also was a German Lutheran theologian and Hebraist in of its own right, described his poems as traditional in subject, national in spirit, and artistic in form. Is reported over. I think there was historical dramas that will come up, I'm not too sure, just in his lifetime. I think the Gemul Atalia, and then there was a play, I think, in Vienna in 1800 and in Warsaw. Once again, I'm not too sure, everything within regards to it and how halakhically good the shows were afterwards, after he passed away, and even when he was alive. I'm not too sure on that. There will be the title, the Shulat Yisrael B'Yed Yehudit, I think, which would be in 1840, where there will be a translation into Hebrew of someone, Petra Matassa's Betule Libertas. I'm not too sure within regards to that. It sounds like it was a play. Also, he was a contributor to a publication called the Me'asefim. It was a group of Hebrew writers, I think, lived between the year 1784 to 1811. And they had this publication, which you mentioned about beforehand, I think. Once again, I think was connected, if I'm not mistaken, to Moses Mendelssohn somehow. So I'm not too sure, all the ins and outs about it, but apparently he was a contributor, let's just say, to this publication at that point in time, and he would publish, I think, some poems and short biographies of eminent Spanish, Portuguese, Jewish, respectively. He would leave several manuscripts, partly written in Hebrew, I think partly in Portuguese and Spanish, and I think from the year 1903 it was in possession of a seminary of the Spanish-Portuguese community in Amsterdam. They included the Biat HaMashiach on the advent of the Messiah. Let's just say, I'm not too sure who gave the Haskamot to these books or not. I'm just reading over what Wikipedia says. The Ni Dawid, it's actually pronounced as it was a responser. I think it was in collection of the Pri-Etz Chaim. It was a collection of Hebrew epitaphs and the Kinor David, which is a large collection of poems from him and others. I think there was the memoirs Do Ostebele Kimeto, a Progresso dos Judios Portuguese. It goes on over here, my Portuguese, so I think it is. And there was other books, let's just say, referred to that. He's very much featured, I think, in the, let's just say, the Jewish Encyclopedia. Also, there's articles about him you can find online. I think his family itself was a very respectable Spanish-Portuguese family. They obviously from Amsterdam, and I think the family were forced immigrants from Portugal. And yes, so he was, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was a Talmid of the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, and very much that would really help progress him. Let's just say, so I think he did associate himself with the Haskalah movement, and I think he stood out a bit from there. It's reported over. I think he was, because maybe most of them were Ashkenazic, and he was a younger person also, and the Ashkenazim were much more older. So seemingly he would be over there, and it's interesting. I think that was a time period where there was other great rabbis came from in that area from Amsterdam. We've spoken about the famous rabbis at that stage in time. And I think there was, maybe it was connected to the Habat David Encyclopedia, which was actually written, and so on and so forth. These plays we did talk about beforehand, and they were famous, I think, for the Jewish community in Amsterdam, if I'm not mistaken. And much is chronicled over within regards to him. I think in the National Library of Israel, for example, there is documentations within regards to maybe some of his works. And I think part of the Ben Yehuda project, I think it's a Ben Yehuda base project, benyehuda.org. I think there are some writings which does feature him. I think maybe some of his, let's just say, associates within regards to him also. And I think there is copies that you can actually see on the National Library website within regards to maybe some of his books or manuscripts and so on, so forth. So that is very, very interesting. I think the book of his, or the work of his, was published in Jerusalem, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not too sure the exact year. I think one of the printings was in the year 1769. It was reported over. I think he wrote his works, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the Hebrew language at that point in time. And I think there's other books he's featured in very much, I think, connected to, let's just say, the history of the Jewish community of Amsterdam, the Hebrew community, respectively. So he passed away in the year 1792, 10th of October. He was a famous poet of his time, and passed away, we're talking about approximately just over 230 years ago. Here, from the time of recording, he passed away. So I'm not too sure if he's related to the other members of the Mendes family. Remember, on this series already, we've spoken about we've spoken about various rabbis with a family named Mendes. I think actually maybe they were also from Spanish-Portuguese descent. So if anyone knows if they were all related together, I would appreciate it to actually know that information. And so he was a famous rabbi at that point in time in the Netherlands. I recommend everyone to please watch over that recording, search on the channel, the recording that we did with regards to the history of the Jewish community from Netherlands, especially from Spain, from Portugal, and so on and so forth. I recommend everyone to look into that, friends, over here. Okay, now, friends, we're a community here. We are learning about famous rabbis of yesteryear, from especially the Ottoman countries and the North African countries. Over here today, we spoke about a famous Netherlands rabbi, a rabbi that was associated, let's just say, in his Talmid of the Ramchal. We spoke about various rabbanim that were students of the famous Ramchal. If you descend from any of the famous rabbis we're speaking about, please send me an email. I would love to hear more information. If you feel anyone is interested in watching these videos, please share these videos also to other people, and let's grow the channel. We're nearing a staggering 7,000 subscribers, which is absolutely phenomenal. So we couldn't have got to this stage without all you guys, all you fantastic people out there that are interested, I recommend everyone to learn about the great Sephardic history. And also, it's not just videos we're recording on famous Sephardi rabbis in this series. We are also recording a video with an interesting Jewish personality every single day, where they inspire us with some wisdom, a rabbi, or it could be other great personalities. We record videos on the Parashat Shavua and Daf Yomi, also daily page of the Gemara, and special current events also we try and look into through a Torah lens. And we also record videos when it's a Hebrew month and Parashat Shavua and so on and so forth. So please join the channel. Wishing you all well. Thanks for watching and have a great day, everyone. Thank you very much.